Okay, I want you to look at your calendar for a second, or just, the date on your phone. It says
Yeah.
2026 or whatever year it is you're listening to this. And we have this very neat, very tidy way of organizing time.
Yeah, we think in centuries, millennia.
Exactly. We have the Roman Empire, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance. And the big dividing line, at least in the Western world, it's always been religious.
BC and AD.
BC and AD, before Christ, Anno Domini. It's like the standard operating system for history. It's just baked in.
It is the standard. It's how we anchor ourselves in time,
But what if that calendar is lying to us? Or, I guess, not lying exactly, but what if it's obsolete?
Obsolete is a good word for it.
We've got a stack of sources today that they center around a conversation that, honestly, it kept me up last night. We are diving into a discussion with Eric Weinstein.
Mathematician, economist, cultural commentator.
Yeah.
The guy who coined the term intellectual dark web.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah.
And he went on the Trigonometry podcast recently and laid out an argument that it shatters that timeline completely.
He says the real split in human history, the moment everything actually truly changed, it wasn't 2,000 years ago.
Nope. Not even close.
It happened on a specific day in November 1952.
November 1st, 1952. To be precise.
The day we became, and I'm quoting him here, like gods.
That's the phrase he uses. And, he doesn't mean it in a benevolent, let's create a garden kind of way.
Yeah.
He means it in a raw, Old Testament, fire and brimstone way. November 1st, 1952 was the Ivy Mike test.
The detonation of the first hydrogen bomb.
The first thermonuclear device. And his thesis, the thing we're going to unpack, is that we are living in a completely new era. A new BC and AD.
Before the city killer and after.
Exactly. And the terrifying part is that our psychology, our politics, our culture, they haven't caught up.
Not at all. We're basically toddlers playing with a loaded gun that we think is a toy.
It's even worse than that. Weinstein's central metaphor for this whole deep dive is that we aren't just toddlers.
We are prisoners.
We are prisoners. He argues that humanity is currently trapped in a solar system escape room.
Which is such a vivid claustrophobic image. It really sticks with you.
It does. I mean, think about it. We are locked in a room, which is the Earth and, the immediate solar system, and the clock is ticking down.
And we have a jailer.
We have a jailer, who we'll get to, who is keeping us trapped here. And unless we solve the puzzle, unless we figure out the physics to pick the lock,
the house is going to burn down with us inside.
That's the premise.
It's a heavy premise. Solve physics or die. But, okay, we need to back up to that date, November 1952, because Weinstein points out a coincidence in history that I had never, ever put together before.
Oh, this is fascinating.
It's one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. He calls it the era of the twin nuclei.
Yeah, the synchronization here it's almost spooky. So look at the timeline. November 1952, the U.S. detonates Ivy Mike.
Okay.
We unlock the secrets of the atomic nucleus to release, basically unlimited destructive energy. Fusion.
Power of the sun.
Power of the sun. Then, fast forward barely 6 months.
Not even a full year.
Not even. April 1953. James Watson and Francis Crick published their paper on the structure of DNA, the double helix.
So in the span of one winter, basically one academic year, humanity mastered the nucleus of the atom.
And the nucleus of the cell.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We unlock the source code of death or energy, depending on how you want to use it, and we unlock the source code of life.
At the same time.
At basically the same time.
Yeah.
And Weinstein calls this a phase transition for the species.
Yeah.
Before 1952, we were subject to nature. We lived, we died, we fought with, sticks and stones and chemical explosives.
Right.
After 1953, we had the power to rewrite the software of life and the power to vaporize the hardware of civilization.
It's almost like a cosmic filter, right? Like we reached a level in a video game where you get the ultimate power-ups, but if you misuse them...
It's game over.
Instant.
There's no extra life. No. And that's the tension we've been living in ever since. Weinstein argues that we're all walking around with this low-level anxiety because deep down, we know we are living on borrowed time.
We unlocked the God mode, Jeets.
But we still have the wisdom of, hairless apes.
Okay, let's drill down into the death side of that equation first, the bomb. Because I feel like I, and probably most of you listening, have a very cartoonish understanding of nuclear weapons.
Yeah, that's common.
We think Hiroshima, big mushroom cloud, bad. But Weinstein makes a really aggressive distinction between the bombs of 1945 and the bombs of 1952.
Oh, absolutely.
He says they aren't even in the same category. They're not even the same sport.
They really aren't. And this is where the physics gets genuinely terrifying. The bombs dropped on Japan, Little Boy, and Fat Man were fission weapons.
Okay, fission. Unpack that for us.
Fission is splitting the atom. It's literally carrying it apart. You take a heavy, unstable element like uranium-235 or plutonium,
The heavy stuff.
the really heavy stuff, and you get enough of it together, what's called a critical mass, and the atoms start spontaneously splitting apart. When they split, they shoot out neutrons.
Weinstein had a great analogy for this. He called them bullets.
Right. Think of them as subatomic bullets. So one atom splits, it shoots out, say, 2 bullets. Those bullets hit 2 other atoms. They split, shooting out 4 bullets.
Then 8, then 16.
It's a chain reaction. Bullets creating bullets.
Okay.
And that releases a massive amount of energy. But, and this is the key thing to understand, there is a physical limit to how big you can make a fission bomb.
Why is that?
Well, if you pack too much uranium together in one lump, it will just accidentally go off before you want it to. Or, when it does explode, it blows itself apart so fast that most of the fuel doesn't even get a chance to react.
So it's inefficient.
It's incredibly inefficient. You can destroy a city center, yes. You can level a few square miles. But you can't, destroy a continent. You can't end civilization with just one.
So fission is the match.
Fission is the match. November 1952 was the inferno.
The hydrogen bomb.
The thermonuclear weapon. This uses fusion.
Which is what the sun does, taking two things and putting them together.
Exactly. Instead of splitting heavy atoms, you're taking very light atoms, like hydrogen isotopes, and smashing them together to create helium.
And that releases more energy.
Vastly more energy.
What?
Orders of magnitude more. But here is the engineering problem that stumped the smartest people on Earth for years.
Okay.
To get hydrogen to fuse, you need heat and pressure that basically don't exist in the universe outside of the center of a star. You need millions of degrees of temperature and crushing, unbelievable pressure.
How do you create a star on Earth for a fraction of a second?
You use the fission bomb as the lighter.
Okay, wait. So the atomic bomb, the thing that ended World War II, is just the detonator for the H-bomb.
It's just the trigger. Correct.
Right.
But even that isn't simple. It's not like you can just tape them together.
Right.
If you just put a fission bomb next to a tank of hydrogen and set it off, the explosion would just blow the hydrogen away. You would scatter it before it could get hot enough to fuse.
Weinstein used a great analogy for this, too. He said it's like trying to light a candle with a stick of dynamite.
You just blow the candle across the room.
How did they solve it? This is the Teller-Ulam design he talks about, right?
Right. Stanislaw Ulam and Edward Teller.
Yeah.
2 Eastern European geniuses working in the U.S. And they came up with a setup that is honestly a masterpiece of dark, dark engineering.
Okay, walk us through it.
Imagine a cylinder, like a big metal tube, a casing. At the very top, you have the fission bomb. That's called the primary.
The match.
The match. At the bottom, you have the fusion fuel, the hydrogen. That's the second.
Okay, top and bottom, separate.
Separated. Now, when the primary goes off at the top, it explodes. But it also releases this massive, instantaneous flood of X-rays.
High energy light.
High energy light. And as we know, what's the one rule of the universe?
Nothing travels faster than light. Einstein again.
Einstein is always there. The X-rays race down the cylinder ahead of the physical explosion shockwave. They travel at the speed of light, while the blast itself is just, dragging along at the speed of sound or a little faster.
The light gets there first.
The light gets there first. Those X-rays hit a special plastic foam that's surrounding the hydrogen fuel at the bottom. The foam turns into plasma instantly. It expands, and it compresses the hydrogen canister from all sides, symmetrically.
So the light creates a vise. It squeezes the hydrogen.
A vise made of radiation pressure. It squeezes the hydrogen so hard and heats it so fast that for a split second, you have the conditions of the center of the sun.
Okay.
And then ignition.
The fusion reaction starts.
The fusion reaction starts. And because you can just keep adding more hydrogen fuel to the secondary stage, there's theoretically no upper limit to the size of the explosion.
That is, terrifyingly ingenious is the only phrase for it.
It is.
It's using the speed of light to trick matter into becoming a star before it gets blown apart by the initial blast.
It is. And the result is a weapon where duck and cover is a cruel joke.
A complete fantasy.
Weinstein was very blunt about this. He said if 1 or 2 of these modern devices hit a place like Southern California, Los Angeles is no more.
He didn't say Los Angeles will need to be rebuilt. He said it's gone.
Gone, razed to the ground, flattened. He mentioned the Russian concept of the tsunami bomb. the Poseidon torpedo.
Yeah, that sounds like something out of a horror movie.
It is. This is a nuclear reactor-powered drone torpedo. It can cross an ocean by itself, and it's armed with a massive thermonuclear warhead, maybe 100 megatons. The idea is to detonate it underwater, off a coast.
So not even hitting the city directly.
No, it would create a radioactive tsunami, maybe hundreds of feet high, that would wash an entire seaboard off the map. You wouldn't just lose New York City to the blast. You'd lose the entire East Coast to the water and the radiation.
This brings us to the geopolitical side of his argument, because the standard line, the thing I was taught in school, the thing we all believe, is that these weapons are actually good for peace.
Mutual assured destruction. MD.
Right. The idea is that because the weapons are so terrible, no one will ever use them. We've had the long peace since 1945 because of the bomb.
And Weinstein thinks that is a complete and utter delusion. He calls it the peace dividend myth.
He says we haven't been safe, we've been lucky.
And that distinction matters immensely. It's so important. If you're safe, your system is robust. It's well designed. If you're lucky, you're just playing Russian roulette and you haven't pulled the bullet yet.
So where have we been lucky?
Well, he cites the Cuban Missile Crisis, obviously. That's the famous one. But he also focuses on a less well-known incident with a man named Stanislav Petrov.
The Soviet officer in 1983.
Right. September 26, 1983. Petrov is the duty officer sitting in a secret bunker near Moscow. The brand-new Soviet early warning satellite system goes off. Sirens, red lights, the whole thing. The computer screen says, USA has launched 5 ICBMs.
And his protocol, his standing orders, were to immediately report it up the chain of command.
Yes.
Which would trigger a full-scale retaliatory launch.
Yes. The protocol was clear. There was no ambiguity. If the machine says launch, you report it and the system launches. Because by the time the missiles get there, you have no time to think.
But he didn't.
He hesitated. He had a gut feeling. He reasoned. If the Americans were going to start World War III, they wouldn't just send 5 missiles. That makes no sense. They'd send 500. They'd try to wipe us out completely in a first strike.
So he went against the computer.
He went against the computer and against his orders. He decided, on a hunch, that it was a computer glitch. And he reported it as such.
And it was. It turned out to be sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds in a very specific way that fooled the satellite.
It was a glitch. But if Petrov had been a different man, if he had been a strict by-the-book officer, or if he had just had a bad day or was hungover,
we wouldn't be having this conversation.
We wouldn't be here. That is what Weinstein means by luck. We survived 1983 because of the intuition of one guy in a bunker, not because of some grand, stable, mutual assured destruction strategy.
And Weinstein's fear now, in the 2020s, is that our luck is running out.
It is.
He looks at the current crop of world leaders, Putin, Xi, Trump, Netanyahu, and he doesn't see the Manhattan Project ethos. He doesn't see people with that level of scientific or historical understanding.
He compares them to the characters in the movie Rebel Without a Cause.
The chicken scene.
The chicken scene. There's that famous scene where the kids drive their cars toward a cliff. The game is chicken. The first one to jump out of the car is the coward. The last one to jump wins. But if you jump too late...
You go over the cliff with the car.
And Weinstein thinks our leaders are playing chicken with nukes, but they don't actually know how to drive. Or worse, they don't respect the cliff.
They don't have a visceral fear of it.
Exactly. He argues that Putin might be the most talented of the bunch in terms of raw strategic intellect, but even he is operating in a world where the fear of the bomb has faded. Weinstein calls this the atrophy of fear.
We've forgotten what the fire looks like, because we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen a mushroom cloud in anger since 1945. And more importantly, we haven't seen an atmospheric test, a real visual skylighting up explosion since the Test Ban Treaty in the early 60s.
So for anyone under the age of, 70, the bomb is an abstract concept.
It's a line of code or a budget item. It's a video game. It's not a city killer. Weinstein says modern physicists look at the Manhattan Project scientists, Oppenheimer, Fermi, Teller-like. They are mythological figures.
Like modern Greeks looking at Ulysses.
That's his exact phrase.
Yeah.
It's not real to them anymore. It's just a story.
And this leads to what was probably the most shocking part of the interview for me. I actually had to rewind it to make sure I heard him right.
Oh, yeah. I know what's coming.
Weinstein suggests, and I'm paraphrasing here, but not by much, that we might need to start testing bombs above ground again.
Yeah. That was a moment where you could feel the air leave the room.
Yeah.
It's a deeply uncomfortable idea.
I mean, that sounds insane, right? We spent decades fighting to stop testing, the fallout, the environmental damage, and he's saying, let's light one up.
His logic is brutal. But it's consistent with his argument. He's saying, you have forgotten that these things are real. You are talking about tactical nukes in Ukraine like it's just a bigger artillery shell. You need to be reminded.
It's the burn your hand on the stove theory.
Precisely. If a child doesn't know the stool is hot, they might lean on it and get badly burned. If they touch it once and burn their finger, they treat it with a healthy respect forever.
So he thinks humanity needs to see the mushroom cloud again.
Maybe in the middle of the Pacific, far away from people.
Yeah.
Just to reinstill the fear of God in our population and especially in our leadership.
It's a terrifying prescription. Scare us straight with a thermonuclear detonation. But I guess his point is that the alternative, stumbling into a war because we forgot the consequences, is infinitely worse.
Exactly. But this existential dread, this nuclear cliff, it's really just the setup for his bigger theory.
Right. This is the problem statement.
This is the problem statement, the escape room.
Because Weinstein isn't just saying we're all going to die. He's offering a path out. But it's a very specific, very hard path.
The escape room metaphor is the absolute core of his worldview. Imagine the solar system is a room, a sealed room.
Okay.
We are all trapped on one surface inside that room, the floor, which is the Earth. As long as we are all here in one place, we are vulnerable.
All our eggs in one basket.
Exactly. If we stay here, eventually we hit zero on the roulette wheel. It might be nuclear war. It might be a bioengineered pandemic that's 100 times worse than COVID. It might be a stray asteroid.
The dinosaur killer.
Right. If you play the game long enough on one planet, the probability of an extinction-level event approaches 100%. It's a mathematical certainty.
So the solution is the Oprah principle, as he puts it.
You get a planet, and you get a planet.
We need to diversify the species. We need to spread out.
We need to be on Mars. We need to be on the moon. We need to be in O'Neill cylinders orbiting Jupiter. If we have self-sustaining colonies elsewhere, then even if Earth goes stupid, that's his word, stupid, even if we nuke ourselves back to the Stone Age here, humanity continues.
The light doesn't go out.
The light doesn't go out.
Okay, this sounds like standard sci-fi stuff so far. I mean, Elon Musk says this, Jeff Bezos says this, but Weinstein adds a villain to the story.
He does.
He says, we can't leave because we have a jailer.
And the jailer's name is Albert Einstein.
Okay, explain this. Why is Einstein the bad guy here? He seems to pop up everywhere.
It's not that he's a bad guy. It's that his laws are a prison wall, general relativity, and specifically the speed of light.
The cosmic speed limit.
The cosmic speed limit. 186,000 miles per second, which sounds incredibly fast, right?
It sounds instantaneous.
But on the scale of the universe, it's a crawl. It's a snail's pace. The nearest star system, Alpha Centauri, is about 4 light years away.
Meaning it takes light itself 4 years to get there?
4 years. But we aren't light. We are meat and metal. With our best chemical rockets burning, dinosaur juice, basically, that trip doesn't take 4 years. It takes 70,000 years.
70,000.
Yeah. So for all practical purposes, we can't leave.
We are trapped, not just on Earth, but in our solar system.
We are effectively quarantined in this little pocket of the galaxy by the laws of general relativity. And this is where Weinstein gets really frustrated with the scientific community.
With his own people?
With his own tribe. He argues that physics, the queen of the sciences, has stagnated. It's hit a wall.
He talks about the 100-year wall.
General Relativity was published in 1915. Quantum mechanics was pretty much worked out in the 20s and 30s. Since then, he says we've been refining those theories, adding decimal points, but we haven't broken them. We haven't found the new physics.
But what about string theory? We've heard about that for decades. Isn't that the next step?
Weinstein argues string theory has been a massive, catastrophic dead end. Billions of dollars, the smartest minds of 2 generations, and it hasn't produced a single testable prediction or a single usable piece of engineering that gets us 1 inch closer to the stars.
So what's the problem? Why are we stuck?
He says we have started to confuse the map for the territory. We've accepted space-time as reality.
What does that mean, accepted space-time as reality?
It means we've forgotten that Einstein's theory is just a model. It's an incredibly successful model that works really well for, GPS satellites and black holes. But it's just a model. It's a description.
It's not the thing itself.
It's not the thing itself. Weinstein thinks there might be a layer underneath it, a loophole, a way to warp space or travel through extra dimensions or some kind of physics we haven't even imagined yet.
He wants a warp drive?
He wants a warp drive, or at least he wants us to start seriously trying to build one. He says we should have spent the peace dividend, all the money we saved by not fighting World War III, on a crash course, an Apollo-style program to break Einstein's laws.
A project to defeat the jailer.
That should be the primary project of the human species.
Hmm.
Because if we don't, the clock on the escape room runs out.
The bomb goes off.
The twin nuclei will go off. We have to pick the lock before the room explodes.
Talk about pressure. But this idea of a project to save humanity brings us to the next section, which was surprisingly cultural.
Yeah, this was a fascinating detour.
Weinstein argues that if we're going to pull off this sprint to the stars, we need the right team. And he thinks we've been benching some of our best players.
Specifically Russia.
This was a really provocative part of the conversation. I mean, it goes against everything we think right now.
It does. Weinstein challenges the entire mental map we have of the West.
Yeah, usually when we say the West, we mean the US, Canada, UK, France, Germany. And then we stop. The Iron Curtain is still there in our minds.
Weinstein says that line is drawn in the wrong place. He argues that Russia and Eastern Europe are part of the West. They are just a spicier, weirder version of it.
Spicier is one way to put it. A lot of people would use other words.
Sure, but look at the data. Weinstein is a mathematician. He respects output. And when he looks at the history of math, physics, music, chess, the scoreboard is just dominated by Eastern Europeans.
He mentioned Teller and Ulam again, the guys who built our hydrogen bomb, the solution to the H-bomb puzzle.
Right. Edward Teller was Hungarian. Stanislaw Ulam was Polish-Jewish. The Manhattan Project was powered by Eastern European genius that fled Europe. He lists the great Soviet mathematicians like Kolmogorov. He talks about their composers. He calls Russia a barbell culture.
I love this analogy. It makes so much sense. A barbell has all the weight at the ends and, nothing in the middle.
Exactly. In Russia, he argues, you have the highest of the high.
Yeah.
The most sublime classical music, the most advanced theoretical physics, the grandmaster chess players who can see 20 moves ahead. That's one end of the barbell.
And at the other end?
You have the gulag. You have brutal trench warfare. You have a complete disregard for human life, the lowest of the low.
And nothing in the middle. No comfortable middle class, no bourgeois stability, no, suburban culture.
Right. And the hosts of Trigonometry, who are British, push back on this hard.
Yeah, they did.
They said, look, Eric, Russia isn't Western. In the West, we value the individual. In Russia, the individual is just fertilizer for the state. They called it the trench digger mentality. You just throw bodies at the problem.
But Weinstein had a defense for that, a really interesting one. He called it geographical determinism.
Yeah. He said, it's easy to be a liberal humanist when you live in England, surrounded by water, or in the U.S., surrounded by oceans. You have a moat.
But look at the map of Poland or Ukraine.
It's the North European plain. It's flat. It's a highway for tanks. As he says, you can ride a horse from Mongolia to France without hitting a significant mountain range.
So you're constantly being invaded.
Constantly. By everyone, the Mongols, the Swedes, the French, the Germans, back and forth. Weinstein argues that the brutality of Russian culture isn't some genetic defect. It's a learned survival strategy.
It's software that's been installed by centuries of Trump.
When you are invaded every 50 years, you learn to throw bodies at the problem, because that's the only way the nation survives. He thinks we in the West have mistaken their geography for their soul.
And his big regret, the thing that really seems to pain him when he talks about it, is the 1990s, the end of the Cold War.
He views it as a massive, tragic missed opportunity.
A fork in the road where we took the wrong turn.
Absolutely. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the West had a choice. We could have said, welcome back to the family. We hated communism, but we love Russia. We love Tolstoy and Tchaikovsky. Let's integrate. Let's combine NASA with Roscosmos. Let's build the future together.
Instead, we expanded NATO right up to their borders.
We treated them like a defeated enemy. We sent over economists who, in his view, looted the place. We fed them crumbs, as Weinstein puts it. We humiliated a proud culture that had just dismantled its own empire without a major war.
And in doing so, we created the resentment that gave us Vladimir Putin.
That's his argument. We took a potential ally in the escape room, a nation of brilliant physicists and tough-as-nails survivors, and we turned them back into the enemy.
It's a tragic what if. Imagine a world where U.S. capital and optimism combined with Russian mathematical genius and sheer endurance.
We might be on Mars already. We might be working on that warp drive.
It might be, but we aren't. And speaking of allies, Weinstein didn't just critique our relationship with Russia. He had some tough love for the United Kingdom, too.
Oh, man, the human software section. As an Anglophile, this was.
Yeah.
It was hard to listen to, but also felt very true.
He basically told the British, you guys have forgotten that you're awesome. What happened?
He diagnosed the UK with a bad case of national self-hatred. He thinks the UK has lost its swagger, it's ashamed of its colonial history, it's embarrassed by its power, and it's trying to be this small, polite, apologetic nation.
And he thinks that's a huge mistake, not just for them, but for the world.
A huge mistake.
Yeah.
Because he says the UK's greatest export isn't banking or wool or whatever, it's human software.
It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking.
Right. He calls it a mix of irreverence, arrogance, and creativity. The British have this unique ability to look at a rigid, established system and say, that's rubbish, let's do it this way.
The port wine story was the perfect example of this. I had never heard this before.
It really is. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So historically, the English loved French wine, Bordeaux, Claret.
Right.
But England is always at war with France, so supply is spotty. Plus, England is too cold and wet to grow good grapes.
Right.
So what do? Do they just drink ale? No.
Of course not.
They sail down to Portugal. They find these rough, heavy red wines that don't taste like Bordeaux at all. And they figure out that if you dump brandy into the wine during fermentation, it kills the yeast, which leaves the sugar in, and it boosts the alcohol.
They invented port.
They engineered a completely new luxury product out of a logistical necessity. And then they used their cultural swagger to brand it as the ultimate drink of gentlemen. They did the same thing with champagne, by the way. The British developed the stronger glass bottles, and the corks needed to contain the bubbles before the French did. They essentially created the market for it.
And he used the same logic for the British invasion in music in the 60s.
The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin. Weinstein points out that the U.S. had the raw materials. We had the blues. We had these incredible black artists, Muddy Waters, Chuck Berry, Howlin' Wolf.
But white America at the time was largely segregated and dismissive of this race music.
Right. So these British kids in Liverpool and London, they heard it on imported records.
And they went crazy for it.
They went crazy. They didn't have the American racial baggage. They just heard the genius. They obsessed over the records, learned the licks, added that British irreverence and a whole lot of volume, and then they sold it back to America as rock and roll.
And America bought it.
In droves.
Yeah.
Weinstein says they sent us Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix couldn't make it in the U.S. initially. He had to go to London to get discovered, become a god, then come back to America.
That's the software. Taking something raw and refining it, structuring it with a specific kind of genius.
Which leads to the ultimate metaphor for the Western Alliance. Watson and Crick, the DNA guys.
I loved this anecdote. It's so perfect. So Jim Watson is the American. He's 23 years old. He's brash. He's arrogant. He's obsessed with winning the Nobel Prize by any means necessary.
Total American drive.
Okay.
And Francis Crick is the Brit. He's older. He's more philosophical. He's thinking about the deep, elegant structure of life.
They're different personalities.
Very. And Weinstein apparently asked Watson about the discovery of the double helix. And Watson said something really revealing. He told Weinstein, I figured out the base pairing on the inside.
The ATCG links, the actual code, the information.
Right. The aggressive information-carrying part, the American part of the molecule. But then Watson said, but look at the beautiful sugar phosphate backbone twirling on the outside. That holds it all together. That's 100% Francis.
That's the British part.
So the metaphor is, the U.S. provides the drive, the innovation, the data, the inside of the helix. The U.K. provides the structure, the elegance, the grandeur, the outside that keeps the whole thing from falling apart.
And Weinstein's plea to the U.K. is, we need you to be the backbone again. The world needs that structure.
Stop moping about the past.
Yeah.
Stop apologizing. We need the British arrogance that looked at a grape and said, I can improve this, or looked at the blues and said, let's turn this up to 11.
Because we have a new problem to crack. A new puzzle in the escape room. And it's a problem that is going to require every ounce of American drive and British structure and, frankly, Russian math if we can ever get it back.
Section 6. The new fire.
AI, artificial intelligence.
If the nuclear bomb was the fire of the 20th century, AI is the fire of the 21st. And Weinstein is, well, he's not optimistic about our ability to handle it.
He used a really interesting analogy about black powder or gunpowder.
Right. He said, look, the formula for gunpowder is simple. It's public knowledge, potassium nitrate, sulfur, charcoal. You can find that on Wikipedia. But we don't worry about random people building massive city-destroying bombs in their basements constantly. Why?
Because it doesn't scale easily. To blow up a city with black powder, you need a literal mountain of it. It's a logistical nightmare.
Exactly. But AI is different. AI has high leverage. A single algorithm written by a small team, maybe even one person, can affect billions of people.
It can crash a stock market or hack a power grid or...
In the worst-case scenario, design a novel pathogen and release the instructions online. The leverage is almost infinite.
And the problem is the bottleneck, or, more accurately, the lack of one.
This is the crucial difference between nukes and AI, and why AI might be even more dangerous. To build an atomic bomb, you need uranium-235.
Right.
U-235 is incredibly rare and incredibly hard to separate from the much more common U-238. You need massive factories full of centrifuges. You need huge amounts of electricity. These are physical things.
You can see them from space with a satellite.
You can see them. You can sanction the supply chain for parts. You can sabotage the power lines with a cyber attack. There's a physical bottleneck you can control.
But AI...
What's the uranium for AI? It's data and code. It's information. It travels at the speed of light over fiber optic cables.
You can't sanction math.
You can't blockade a zip file.
Weinstein mentioned the DeepSeek versus DeepMind rivalry.
Right. DeepMind is the famous Google UK lab. DeepSeek is a Chinese lab. And for a long time, the Western thinking was, oh, we have the best chips, the best data centers, we'll always be ahead.
The hardware was our moat.
The hardware was the moat. But recently, we've seen models coming out of China that are incredibly efficient, running on much less hardware, and performing at near US levels.
So the secret is out. The software is catching up.
The secret is out. And because there is no physical bottleneck, there's no way to stop the proliferation. You can't have a non-proliferation treaty for AI. How would you enforce it? Inspect every laptop in the world. It's impossible.
And this creates a race to the bottom, or a race to the cliff, to use his other metaphor.
It's the game of chicken again, but at light speed. If the U.S. stops developing AI because of safety concerns, China will keep going. If China stops, Russia will keep going.
Because the advantage of being first is too big?
The advantage of having the first true superintelligence that can crack all encryption, design unstoppable weapons, and optimize your economy to dominate the world. It's so massive that no nation can afford to stop.
So we are sprinting full speed toward a technology that we don't understand, that we can't control, and that has the potential to be just as dangerous as the twin nuclei ever were.
Weinstein compares it to playing with fire in a room full of gasoline vapors.
Mm-hmm.
We are hoping that the AI turns out to be nice, or that we can align it. But hope is not a strategy.
Okay, so let's recap the situation we've laid out. It's pretty bleak.
It is. Let's put it all on the table.
We have the twin nuclei, nuclear bombs, and the potential for bioweapons that we've forgotten to fear. We're playing chicken with them. We have Einstein, the jailer, trapping us in the solar system so we can't escape the blast radius.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the room. We have a geopolitically fractured world where we've alienated our potential allies, like Russia, who we might need to solve the puzzle.
Okay.
And now we have AI pouring gasoline all over the floor of the escape room while we're playing with matches.
It sounds like a prelude to a funeral. It really does.
It does. But this is where the conversation pivoted. And honestly, it's why I wanted to do this deep dive. Because Weinstein doesn't just leave us in the despair. He doesn't just say, we're doomed.
No, he's not a nihilist.
He calls for a specific kind of attitude to get us through this.
The Jewish attitude.
Now, we need to be really clear here. He's not talking about theology. He's not talking about religious observance.
No, not at all. He's talking about a cultural survival strategy that has been honed over 2,000 years of exile and persecution. It's a mindset.
And what is that mindset?
The mindset is, they're coming to kill us. There is no help coming. The odds are impossible. So what are we going to do about it?
It's survival at all costs.
It's the refusal to accept extinction, even when it seems inevitable. Weinstein argues that humanity needs to adopt this mindset as a species. We need to look at the escape room, look at the jailer, look at the bomb, look at the AI, and say, okay, this looks like the end, but we don't accept that. We are going to find a way out.
It's a fundamental shift from a mindset of safety to a mindset of glory.
That's the key pivot. For the last 80 years, since 1945, our primary goal as a civilization has been safety, stability. Don't rock the boat. Keep the Cold War cold. Don't take big risks.
And Weinstein says that era is over.
It's over. The boat is already rocking. The stability is gone. Trying to be safe now is actually the most dangerous thing we can do. It's like hiding under the bed when the house is on fire.
So we need to be dangerous. We need to take risks.
We need to be the original badasses, again, as he puts it. We need to channel the energy of the Manhattan Project, the energy of the Apollo program. Those weren't safe projects. They were insane, glorious risks taken by brilliant people who felt the breath of history on their necks.
He calls it the sprint.
The sprint to the finish line. We are in a race between our wisdom and our power. Right now, our power is winning. We can destroy the world, but we don't yet have the wisdom to save it.
So we need to sprint.
We need to sprint to get off-world. We need to sprint to craft the new physics and defeat the jailer. We need to sprint to merge with AI or align it before it eats us for lunch.
It's an exhilarating but also terrifying call to action. It's basically get busy living or get busy dying on a planetary scale.
And it changes how you look at the news. It really does. When you see chaos wars in Ukraine, instability in the Middle East, crazy tech disruption, your first instinct is anxiety.
Right. The world is falling apart.
But in Weinstein's frame, you should also recognize it as the phase transition. The ice is cracking. That's scary, yes, but it also means the water is moving. We aren't frozen in the Cold War stability anymore.
We have to move. We're being forced to pick the lock.
We have to. And that leads to the final thought Weinstein leaves us with. It's a challenge, really, to everyone listening.
If the solar system is an escape room and Einstein is the jailer,
Are we just going to sit on the couch, scroll through our phones, watch Netflix, and wait for the time to run out?
are we going to be the passive victims of history?
Or are we going to stand up, walk over to that door, and start trying to break it down with everything we've got?
The door is locked. The house is on fire.
Time to move.
We'll leave you with that thought. Huge thanks to Eric Weinstein and the Trigonometry crew for the source material for this one. This was a heavy one, maybe the heaviest deep dive we've ever done.
That was a lot.
But I hope it sparked something for you.
Let's get to work.
See you on the next deep dive.